Hey cats and dogs, what's up? Just doing a test run, Facebook Live. Just playing around with some things. We're in the StoneLab. One part of the StoneLab. I'm not where I make the stuff. I'm where I kind of display StoneFit items and assorted things. I've got all sorts of stuff I make with stone. This is also where I do resistance training. And StoneFit is a combination between like Strongman fitness equipment, fringe, and conventional exercise equipment, but also martial arts related materials like these items here. They're basically a heavy stone plate with a handle on the end. This is actually a traditional item found in China and Okinawa. A lot of Okinawan karate systems have a classification of conditioning called Hojo Undo. They have those, and they have things like these, the weighted jars. They use those for grip and shoulder development. So a lot of StoneLab items condition the grip alongside whatever muscle group you're working. So grip is actually a big factor with that. So I'll take you through to see some stuff here. We'll start with the Strongman material. We got a stone cross here. Okay, I'm still alive. This actually has heavy Strongman application. This is found in Strongman events. This is, and I think I'm back on now. Having some problems with the signals, but it's just a test, whatever. Just hanging out. Yeah, the stone cross. The stone cross is great. The normal thing you do with it is you put your underhooks underneath the horizontal section there, and you use it to do like a squat or deadlift. It really works nicely as a combination squat deadlift because it really conditions the spinal erectors. You just have to try it. It's pretty cool. And there are some alternative things you can do with it. I'll video some stuff with it later. Oh yeah, what I was going to say when the connection began to break down is that I actually put a lichen stain on it. So you see this green. I like my items to look kind of ancient. I like them to look ancient and almost antique-y, right? So this is actually a stain to make it look like a lichen is on it. And so the hope is eventually, if you have it outside, you will eventually develop a layer of moss or what I liken to character, pun intended. This is a Atlas ball. If you know of the story of the god Atlas, who supports the world, this is named after that. This Atlas ball is the world itself, the sphere. Very conventional strongman item. You see these in a lot of gyms. This weighs about 100 pounds. Great workout. A different feeling than the stone cross. Very similar movements, but they definitely feel different on the spine. And then here is actually a conventional karate Hojo Undo piece of equipment. And this is just like a heavy jar. I make a stone jar. Historically speaking, they would simply take a large crater that you would, put wine in or what have you, and they would fill it with something heavy like pebbles, and they would use often 2 of them. But this one is actually a quite modern, heavy one for us resistance training moderns who have highly developed deltoids and also wanted to develop, grip strength. Great grip strength. And the two go together really nice, don't they? They kind of stack on each other. And this is actually part of a set that I put up on Facebook Marketplace recently. I actually had a girl in St. Louis who really wanted it, but I think she was trying to get a ride to where I live to pick it up, but we never got to connect. So I put it on Facebook Marketplace. You know, it's such a specialty item. I really didn't know if anyone would go for it. I put a set together of actually several different items and charging like $120 for it. So, you know, I didn't know if that was the right audience for that sort of equipment, but you know, it was worth a shot. It was nice for someone in St. Louis to be interested. Now here's some fun stuff. This is, I tend to think of them as stone maces, but some of them are for developing grip and some of them are for developing your shoulders. The lighter weight maces here are more for developing shoulders, unless you just have a weak grip or you're just starting out, of course. But because it's lighter, you can swing around with it more. This is actually a stone head. I treated it with a metallic paint. And then this is my newest one here. This is a Spider-Man. Although I painted it, if you'll notice here on the top, like one side is higher than the other. And that's just because when I balanced it out, I have it centered, but when you look at it from the top, it looks like it's not centered. The reason for that, it is centered. The reason for that is because this one side, because of how I made it in the mold, is that some water actually gathered here, and so it made it higher. So I think what I'm going to do is just take a file and grind that down so it matches this other side, so it looks a little, I don't know, a little more balanced from the top. But it is balanced weight-wise. Great item, very heavy. And so is this gripper right here. Has a big, fat handle to it. Great for developing forearm strength. Pretty amazing. But also for shoulder. Once you get your shoulder warmed up and you have a strong shoulder and you know how to use it, you can eventually get into heavy shoulder work with that. It does work. The great thing about the maces and the heavy ones in particular is that it's not a perfectly balanced weight like a dumbbell or a barbell. It's more, it's for functional adaptation. But the idea of the mace is getting a lot more notice in the fitness world, so I don't need to, I'm not the only one preaching its benefits. Anyway, I have some curious item here. Can anyone guess what these are for? And they are for fitness, not for combat, but they're chain with two orb stones on it. It has two carboners on it. You have any idea what those are for? Well, this sort of thing you usually see as a pull-up attachment, meaning you put it around your waist and you do pull-ups to add more weight. So when I was down to 195, I could do 24 pull-ups, but you need more weight to actually develop, you know, raw strength. So you have to load yourself up with a little bit of weight, often not much. Pull-ups can be difficult. And these do just that. You can start with 1 and then move to 2. And then when you graduate from that weight, you move over to something like this. And this is a much heavier sphere-like object with a much more durable, heavy chain. Durable chain like this is very expensive. So when I go to garage sales and that sort of thing, I like to see if they have any cheaply made. So this is quite heavy. You can attach this to a weightlifting belt or your current pull-up attachment, and it adds much more weight to it. So here are some other maces I have. These are short maces. Short maces are great because you can, in some ways, once your shoulder and forearms are conditioned, you can swing them around like a regular mace, a regular weapon. And so you get that more functional training. So I've been playing around with some paint jobs on these. Check this out. This is actually just acrylic paint. Actually, kind of makes it look a little coppered out, doesn't it? Like it's an old bronze piece. I'm fairly happy with that. That's my first time doing that. It's kind of fun. It actually looks like that concrete stain that I used that looks like lichen. That's pretty much what I was trying to imitate. And this shape I call a lollipop for obvious reasons. But I was playing around with it and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna paint it. And you know, if you paint something and you mess up, you can just paint over it again, no big deal. And I ended up coming up with this neat black hole with some stars. And we have the Greek letter phi, which often symbolizes light. It's the first letter in the Greek word for light, which is phos. Nice short mace. And some more fancy short maces. This one has that green tint to it. Nice short mace. I like to dual wield with maces, so I like to take these two maces here. Looks a little more wicked with its edges. And dual wield with those. I actually have a video of me doing that on YouTube. Let's see, what else we got here? Gripper cylinders and other... this is a lateral gripper, nice and heavy. It has grips on the side. Most of these are designed to be gripped from the top, right? So it's just really challenging to lift that at first. So you get used to it. This is a fun gripper cylinder. It's a little more challenging because it has finger impressions in it. So if you use these finger impressions, you have to rely more on tactile strength and sort of a gross grip strength here. It begins to separate sort of the muscles that function individually on the fingers. And then you have what I call a grip trainer. It looks like a face on this stone cylinder. And this is for starting out. You can get different grip positions through the eyes and the mouth with both hands. It's kind of a universal gripper. And this is also a gripper up here. It's really just a sandcastle gripper. There are several sizes of that. You can get quite large. So you really never run out of challenges. You can just get bigger and bigger and higher as you get stronger. And then I have some fun stuff. As I have extra stone left over, I'll make some smaller items. Stuff you might put on a desk for a paperweight or what have you. So I have some architectural type stuff, towers and castles. And this little guy right here, kind of a stoa or maybe a Greek temple. I made a little business card holder out of this tower here. Kind of fun. And so we kind of, once we get away from the strength training equipment, we get into this smaller stuff. I'm really into the skulls here. And I paint these up with acrylic paint mainly, although I did use a stain on this one here. I'm going to take that out of its eye there. That is actually that lichen stain I was talking about earlier. And then here's a different version of that skull. Then I make little stuff like that's a little sterno holder, and I got some incense holders here. You can either put the stick incense on it or a cone. So those are kind of fun. I've got various sort of wall mounts. Got your sunflowers there. Interesting sort of gourd shape. This is made out of stone with lichen paint. I just thought this was like a beautiful shape. And then I make spheres. These are actually more difficult to make, anything that looks like a sphere. Because so often you have to create a mold that you end up destroying. So I have to use plaster of Paris or what have you. Here's some smaller skulls. Just recently I've been making wall mount decorative items in the StoneLab. So here are your skulls. Check out this paint job. This is the first time I did this sort of style of paint job. It looks like pretty good. I was really impressed with this one. Layers. It's all about layers and not getting your brush too wet. There are other techniques in there, but we'll do that. Yeah. So having a lot of fun with some of these smaller items. I actually have some rose shapes These are actually, I'd like to take some of these roses at some point and actually mount them on a mace. So some sort of mace of the rose. There's a dying hydrangea. Sort of a metallic skull. Yeah. Got some heart shapes as well. These are just leftover stone, you know, just playing around. This is actually new. This is a little pyramid. I might actually create a mace head out of that shape. It'd be kind of fun, but I just think this would make a great item in an office. You know, the pyramid. I'll probably put it if I get a permanent office where I teach at a university. But yeah, and then I wanted to end right with a sort of odd piece. I really like this piece. It's from the Gripper collection, but it functions more like a small barbell. So you can do curls with it. You can do upright rows. You can do close grip shoulder presses. You can do reverse curls, double frontal deltoid work, many different movements that you do with a dumbbell. But it's also a gripper. So you're actually gripping, I don't know if you can see these little notches on both sides. You grip that, right, with your fingertips, and you do your weightlifting movements. So it's actually, imagine doing curls with this, right, with your palm up and having to grip that weight. And so you're actually, it's an extended grip, so you're conditioning your fingers, not just the biceps, for example, you know. So kind of fun. So hey, let me know if you have any questions or requests in the comments. And so yeah, thanks for hanging out with this test run. See you later.